Hello there, and welcome to Module 2 of the series, How to Study Effectively, or in other words, how to become a better student. In this module, Module 2, we shall look at understanding your personality and understanding how your brain works. I shall go back to something we quoted from the first module. You must be the change you wish to see in the world, Mahatma Gandhi. In other words, you must change yourself if you want to become a better student. But look at this second quotation. If we did all the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. Thomas Edison, the inventor. In other words, you have potential, but this potential must be utilized. We all have multiple forms of intelligence. For years, schooling has mainly, often only developed the linguistic and the logico-mathematical intelligences of children and youth. It must be the case for you as well. But today, we are able to look at the whole gamut of intelligences which everybody possesses. Look at this list. Multiple forms of intelligence: kinesthetic intelligence, interpersonal, intrapersonal, linguistic intelligence, of course, logico-mathematical intelligence, musical intelligence. Everybody possesses that sense of music. And yet, in many classes, in many schools, it is not developed at all. Spatial intelligence, the sense of space, the sense of being able to find yourself in a new town, in a new village, surroundings. This is something very important as well. Intuitive intelligence has for very long been neglected. But today we know this is quite crucial. I don't have time to tell you of stories, but there's so many cases where people have, because of intuition, saved themselves. They have been able to think of something is going to happen in their lives, and the intuition has guided them. One cannot neglect that. And then the ability to integrate, to solve problems, to fashion products, all these are forms of intelligence. Let me ask you this question. Your past and present schooling, does it cater for all these forms of intelligences which you and all your classmates and everybody else possess? To a varying degree, of course, everybody is not the same. So let us now look at how the brain works. The brain has all these intelligences. Let's see how it functions. To start with, recent research has come up with a list of brain-compatible ways of learning, brain-compatible pedagogies. That is, those that are more likely to enable learning and development to take place. I'd like you to look at this list, and one by one, see whether your working conditions at school, at home, fits this list. If not, change it, or try to change it so that you are using brain-compatible ways of learning. Let's look at them one by one. The first is flexible time. Flexible time and a modular, open curricula. Modular. We are producing programs in this series, How to Study, 15 modules. It would not do if I try in one go to try and propagate all these ideas. It would work. You would be fed up, saturated. So what we've done, we've broken it into 15 different modules. One by one each time we touch something. Today we're touching brain-compatible pedagogies. So is your classroom the same? Is your school the same? Do you have definite specific modules which you can master one by one? Right. Next, absence of threat. self-discipline, friendly atmosphere definitely helps in learning. Naturally, self-discipline is very important because otherwise, if there's no discipline, then nobody can learn. Dynamic interaction and collaborative learning. This is very important. In other words, this is a very, very strong case against the type of teaching where the teacher talks, the student listens, takes notes, learns by heart. This is practically not learning at all. You've got to take part. So be convinced of that. You've got to take part in your learning. Interactive. We don't understand, ask a question. You want to rephrase, rephrase. Talk, discuss, experiment. This is how you learn. The tests of success being reality, not authority, naturally. Education, which is in global context, is better. Drama, role-playing and games have a role in education. Something called relaxed alertness. Nothing is worse than a classroom where you feel stressed, you feel fear. You remember when you were a kid in some primary school, some, I really mean some, you were afraid of the teacher. This is not conducive to good learning. Meaningful context is very important. Concept-based pedagogy is very important. An enriched environment, colors, music, art, and so on is important. And finally, an element of choice. Learning design around students' needs and interest. Positive challenges. I know it's a lot of things to master at one go, but these are some of the results of research. These things will help you learn better, whereas if not, you are not necessarily learning as well as you could. So I ask you this question: does your past and present schooling, does it meet some or all of those requirements for effective learning? Have you heard of peaks and troughs? This well-researched piece of how the brain works is the next subject of what we're going to talk about today. I want you at the end of this module to be able to discover for yourself where your peaks are and where your troughs are. Maximizing efficiency by paying attention to natural body and mind rhythms. Peaks and troughs occur during the day. Your performance at anything, attending a class, writing an essay, solving a difficult mathematical problem, sitting for an exam, discussing with your friends, anything. Your performance depends on whether you are at this particular time alert, energetic, full of beans, or whether you are in a trough. You're tired, listless, fatigué for doing a particular task. Let us go further in that and discover when your peaks and your troughs occur. How far do they apply to you? Find in practice over the next 2-3 days or weeks which are your personal rhythms. Now let's look at the first two troughs. Late morning peak. Peak means you're at your best. Is best for tasks which are both important and urgent. It occurs around 10, 11 o'clock during the morning. Assuming, of course, you woke up at 6 o'clock, not that you woke up at 10. So around 9, 10, 11 o'clock is your first top peak. This is where, as I say, you do tasks that are important and urgent. Next, the late afternoon peak. Late afternoon peak is not so good, but is best for tasks that are either important or urgent, not both. It occurs at around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, again depending on your personal rhythm. All right? So let's go through that again. Late morning peak is the best one, around 10, 11 a.m. for the toughest jobs you've got to do or learn. Late afternoon peak is best for tasks still important. Now let us go to the next slide and have a look at troughs. After lunch, you have a trough. End of the working day, you have a trough. These troughs are best for tasks that are just routine, neither important nor urgent. When do those troughs occur? As I said earlier, you'll have to discover for yourself. 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon after lunch, especially if you had a big lunch. 4, 5 or 6 p.m. Before you go, you break up from school. This is not the time to undertake important things. And finally, your best personal window, when you are at your best and you get your best ideas. You will have to discover it for yourself, I'm afraid. Is it AM? Is it PM? Is it early morning? Is it night time? I'll share something personal with you. My best personal window is 4 o'clock in the morning. That's where I get the best ideas. So I keep a piece of paper next to my bed and I write them down. So you may, of course, be different. I go back for a little test. Do you remember AMU? We talked about this last time. Attention, reflection, memorization, utilization. Did you remember it from the first program? This is how the brain works. I wish to conclude this module 2 with the idea about application or utilization. None of these carefully researched and we hope simply explained points will make any difference unless you apply and utilize them in your daily student life. I hope this message is abundantly clear. What do you do then as a result of this module? You note down the key elements that we talked about. You reflect them, you reflect internally, you recall a few of them which you find important, and you apply them. The most important thing, of course, is application. In the next module, we shall look at thinking styles. I think this is important because it shows that different people think differently in different ways, and we'll examine together thinking styles and hope that will help you in becoming a more effective student. Goodbye.